YouTube as a medium relies on a certain sense of closeness that most other platforms do not involve. You have no idea what I look like, you don't know my name or where I'm from or how much caffeine is in my system as we speak, but you know other details. You know how my voice sounds. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you may be familiar with my stupid love of existential philosophy, specifically Sartrean. I love Sartre's work. K-pop's actually pretty similar in my opinion. We have these parasocial relationships thinking we know idols. I know Dahyun can spot any camera, but we've never made eye contact, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love the idols I follow, but it's still important to comprehend the inherent distance between whoever. It could be me, it could be Jenny, it doesn't matter. In terms of literature, we talk about something called psychic distance, essentially how close you are to a character through decisions in the prose or verse. For example, writing in a first person perspective will often bring you closer as a reader or listener, but even that is not always true. The songs I want to talk about have similar types of points of view, but the results are very different. I'll leave a video by Chaeyeon Writes in the description in case you want to learn more. They explain it better than I can. But anyway, in K-pop there are various forms of psychic distance. I already made a video on Hate Rodrigo, but I want to talk briefly about how it plays with closeness or lack thereof. I also want to discuss Bouncy by Ateez and Underwater by Kwon Eunbi. I just want to bring up this aspect of writing that people don't really talk about much. Hate Rodrigo manages to function as a first person apostrophe and still keep its distance. Yena will address the listener, the you she is speaking to, but she will not take responsibility for her own actions and situation, denying her imitation. I'm not someone who imitates others, or minimizing her faults, pay no mind. And she replaces distress with enthusiasm. I think I'm going to be in big trouble, love this song, good for me. Things are presented as if they are happening to her rather than through her, even though she's involved more than she wants you to think, where she's more affected than she says. Today I'm riding a roller coaster of emotions. Something fun is about to happen. Hey, you, call 911. I think I'm going to be in big trouble. The language implicates her dependence on other people and things, but the way she directly addresses people is so indifferent. She has this sort of innocence to her that is really appealing, despite how it functions to separate us from our awareness of her and the self. Mommy say, look at you. Oh my god. Deep smoky eyes. You're grounded. Oh my god. I'm bored. Hey Siri, turn on the TV. Hell is not the other. Yena is not hell. She doesn't push things on you, and you are not, and you are just along for the ride, neither altering your feelings about yourself or others. Who cares about essence? This song is almost like an object with a strong essence that says nothing about any living being's essence. Except when it does. There are brief comments that reveal her true feelings, and it's very akin to how attempting to live in good faith highlights any existential error you make, like subscribing to a philosophy in the first place. Hey, you, what makes you so cool? It's sickening. Hate you. I feel pathetic. Her admitting to her faults and relinquishing her negative feelings and secrets coincides with the ending's sweet release. It's almost absurdist, like our moments where we truly matter to ourselves and others are fleeting. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are only on stage so much of the time. We spend a lot of time flipping coins of our own. Heads, 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 perhaps forevermore. Bouncy is very different. The song is very close to the subject. There are so many simple statements piled on top of each other. Shake your head to the rhythm, nothing stands in our way, try to stop us, unlock everything, now it's time for the party. The statements are fluid and continuous, and it is only through simplicity that the sentence structure is able to become something greater than what it would be otherwise. Bring back the microphone, raise the volume, sit back and relax, everybody. There are so many direct addresses becoming more and more personal as the song goes on. Sit back and relax, man. Don't you want to bet, man? I got time, but it's not for you, bro. Everything is said with such enthusiasm. It's crazy. They literally tell people to move because they need air. They speak as they do things, shake it, want it, and burn it, burn it. Who cares about retrospective? There is so much to experience in the moment. The present can also be about abstract things like their quote unquote sound. Fluidity flows into straight up freedom, this demand to fly. It's like the decision to be quote unquote bouncy is the starting point of an intensive and great journey. Bouncing leads to flight, and you will not be like Icarus if you join in the way the speaker encourages you, to say the least. They do not maintain parallel structure, where you're from, where you are, your age, religion, and even country. No boundaries, all of it doesn't matter. They use some redundant language that suggests the subject is not defined by their craziness, but seems more like an attempt to discard responsibility to the point of madness with crazy people. There is a false sense of precaution and throwaway lines like they are speaking purely from the unconscious. Shake it until you're about to overheat. Yeah, want it, burn it again. Let's play more. It's hot in here. Bounce up higher and higher. It's exploding. Fly as far as you can. The conflict is simple, but like before, there is more to them than simple, built through these statements that might otherwise seem superficial. Jump on top of the world, fly up to the sky, gather in the rhythm, become one, and shout it out. Then there's underwater, which has a very unique relationship with psychic distance. We talk about waves playing in and out and in and out, and I think that is the way you are meant to feel when you are listening to this song. It's honestly alluring. It literally starts with "Come in, Bay," this intimate, illustrious command, which seem like opposite ideas. The song is honestly full of vivid, striking descriptions with her cold and transparent heart, for example. We get to know her deeply, but we are coming to know her from a distance. She also says, slowly set the foot tonight. It's real and unreality while establishing more distance with the use of the. There is also this measured conversation going on with "it's okay," followed by "as soothing, I'll share the breath, won't have to worry, stay, stay." There's a steady conversation, though appearances do come first, and there only being one breath sort of limits the experiences and further maintains the distance, but they still have you in a hold whether they mention you or your relationship or not. Then there are comparisons between the speaker and water. Deeper and deeper, you're submerged in me and drown. Water is symbolic of life, so the speaker is the epitome of life, almost like a god. As they speak of being secretly in love, we get the idea that this relationship is defined by death and love. Simple concepts, but the combination is very complex. With underneath my creepy swaying eyes, look for it, quick, oh, down to love. There is also this sense of measured cerebral power, including but not ending with commands to emphasize how more is quite literally going on internally. Even going into the chorus, the speaker says, "My voice sweeps you like possessed," and there's simultaneous ease and confusion because it doesn't really say who is actually the one that's possessed. She says, "I'll have as you please, leave it to me," and it both begins and ends with her, but then there's "swoop you, love, I'm in underwater, underwater," and there's an actual direct address with a lack of ease, something almost overwhelmed, sounding almost overwhelmed, like maybe the speaker isn't in complete control. There is a difference between being underwater and being the water after all. Then when they say we're faced with each other, there is this new contrast, and it's actually the first time the speaker and the subject are addressed as being together. And forget the feeling of stepping the ground does not include the word on, seemingly suggesting the subject can only be in, and they also say the ground again, which feels like it's separating the ground from everything else and putting so much focus on it. In the pre-chorus, it says "darker and darker sunk in me and drown," and there's such awareness of the state of the self, plus the repetition of and drown with a different context than before. Then they say lock you deep down, almost saying both "I understand you" and "you are trapped." Filled up emotions already at the tip of your chin feels just at the edge of the very definition of drowning, but it also acknowledges levels of character that remain in the open. "I swallow the last breath with me" suggests the speaker is stealing from the subject to the last second, stealing the last hope. And when they say dampening under the bottom of the unconscious, we do need to talk about the unconscious. Apparently, it has an end, and that end is deeper than underwater, which makes us have to ask, how far down are we, and how did we get here so fast? They talk about leaving you in the distant flow, which honestly sounds a lot like existential abandonment. So you have to ask yourself if this speaker is actually a god and what that makes you. They even say "you're submerged into me. I'm in underwater, underwater." Things are so complicated for the subject, but easy for the speaker. With a repetition at the end, "you and I will be here together underwater." We have to wonder if they are stuck in a state of the unknown or if they are somehow trapped. There is a saying that the book belongs to the reader upon its publication. I subscribe to this philosophy even as a writer myself. Literature, whether prosaic or in verse, is about the story of humanity, and I believe that story is singular, but we all have the ability to both gain and give texture and depth to and from it. This is Thomas C. Foster's theory, and I've always liked it a lot. It repeatedly comes up in my studies, and that is what psychic distance is all about. The game is to understand life based on its most blatant aspects and the echoes, sometimes solely in your own mind.